Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast. Glad to have everybody back, and we have somebody new with us today. So let me introduce. I'm Kimmy. I'm your host, and I'm here with Heather and Cassie, and we have also added Kara to our mix. So we're excited to have her with us today. Tina is on vacation, soaking up rays, so we're all jealous of her, but she will be back with us soon. So I'm excited. Glad to have Kara with us. I guess real quick, do you want to just give us a quick little rundown of what your specialty is gonna be and why you decided to start in travel?
Yeah. My specialty is Europe, which is it's in the name. It's special to me because that's where I've been the most. That's the most experience I have. I studied abroad there, and it just always stuck with me. And I've actually been thinking about, or I guess being told to be a travel agent for a long time. Um, and I finally listened, I guess. I was like, this is the time. I'm going to see what I can find. And my friend actually directed me to Travel Bug Girls because she is under the same overhead that we are. And I contacted Heather and we just hit it off. So it was a good fit.
Oh, so glad you're with us. That's so cool. Today, you're actually going to kind of lead the discussion for us. So we're going to talk about solo travel, which is something that Kara's done a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really excited to talk about it because I feel like this is a part of travel that has really expanded. There's a lot more, especially women going on solo travel. And I think as all of us as women, we have unique challenges and all that and considerations when we're traveling solo. So I think it's a great episode, and we're going to kind of talk about some of those things, like the difficulties and some things you love about solo travel. So let's get started on that. Basically, solo travel is just traveling by yourself. So we're used to going with a buddy. Heather and I have talked about this. Like, the idea of solo travel for me sounds like torture because I'm a people person, and also I love connecting, and I'm also one of those people that I will do things if I'm with somebody that I would not do if I was by myself, which I don't know if that's a good trait or not.
We're followers.
Yeah, so I'll do it if somebody will do it with me. Yeah. So let's just talk about why solo travel. What kind of got you started in that?
I was kind of forced into it because my first experience with solo travel, definitely abroad, was studying abroad because nobody else from my university was going. And I lived in London. So I wasn't in a study abroad house, I was just in the mix with local English people, and they had lives and jobs, and they hadn't saved up for years to do this big trip. So when I would travel on the weekends, nobody was available to drop their everyday lives and go with it. They had planned it like I had. So I was like, well, that's not going to stop me. I'm all the way over here. So I would just do it anyway. And don't get me wrong, a lot of times some things went wrong. And I was 20, 21. And so I learned a lot through those. And you could say that I was pretty lucky in some scenarios, but I really never felt in danger. And maybe I was naive in that way, but it was also reassuring for even now, where I think, well, what if I get in this situation? Well, remember, you've been in similar situations before. So, and you were fine, you figured it out. You learned how to read a map, and, you learned how to double check your bookings. So it was kind of forced upon me, really. But through that, and I was there for 6 months. So through that, I learned to really love it. And so it's kind of it's a little nostalgic for me now to take a trip by myself. And it's empowering, to do all that and get from A to B on your own. And now I do different things when I'm with people than I do by myself. But it's still, I don't know, it's kind of like a little little date with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think is like the most liberating aspect of solo travel? And what have you like learned about yourself through solo travel?
I think for me, the most liberating, because my thing, like my saying that will say to anyone, especially kids, is that you are capable. So what's most liberating to me is taking this big intimidating thing, like navigating a new place in a different country with a different language. Unfortunately, I'm not fluent in anything but English, and doing it, and not only doing it, like not just getting by the skin of your teeth, but also enjoying it and embracing it, being present, allowing yourself to have fun, because in a potentially stressful situation, it's easier said than done to have fun. So it's when I reach that point in any given solo adventure of, oh, I'm really enjoying this. Like I'm doing this, and I did this by myself because I can, and it's happening and it's going well. And that's very liberating to me.
The other one was, what have you discovered about yourself through solo travel? Which you kind of touched on a little bit, but
yeah, that is a good question. It's a lot of time with yourself, obviously. Actually, what stands out in my mind, surprisingly enough, is that I also I love being alone. I love my friends, I love my family, I love my partner, but man, I love being alone. I love getting to know myself in that way. However, towards the end of studying abroad, I remember vividly being in Mykonos, Greece, and eating by the water, and it's a gorgeous sunset over the crystal blue water, and you see the night lights, on the other side of the shore. And I'm just sitting there eating my baklava, and I started tearing up because I was like, man, I want more than anything right now to share this with somebody. I love this so much, and I'm going to go journal about it, and I'm going to tell everybody about it. But I really would love for somebody to physically be here with me right now. So I think what I've learned is that I also get lonely, and I also crave companionship in any form when you're witnessing something like that. That's so memorable, somebody to share memories with. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, how do you cope with those moments like that when you're lonely, or like when you come across some of those aspects of solo travel where it would be helpful to have maybe another person with you, or you come up against maybe a situation where you're like, "Oh, am I safe right now?" Like, how do you cope with those kind of problems when you come up against a challenge like that?
Those two examples I cope with pretty differently. Like when I'm feeling in that instance, I went back to my hostel and FaceTimed my mom and just kind of shared it with her as best I could. But when it's a potentially unsafe situation, which I have been in several of those from no fault but my own, there are a lot of ways that you can prepare for that better than I did. Like having charging your abroad phone is a good start. Knowing your directions, knowing the bus stop, but if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And my go-to is to be around people, where you are around people, and don't be afraid to ask somebody. Like for me specifically, I try to find a woman with children, and I ask her, and if they don't speak the language, I'll say no problem, and I'll go find another one. Or a worker is another good, really great resource. I gravitate towards hotels because oftentimes they know English and they're open 24/7. There's at least somebody there. But just staying around people and finding somebody, and not being afraid to ask somebody that looks trustworthy, that feels trustworthy.
I've seen that a lot, even just like on Facebook, and like when in the States, like just going to the store or whatever. If you ever get in a situation where there's like a man or somebody that you feel uncomfortable, go up to a woman with kids, because moms get it, and like they're just automatically gonna be like, you're one of mine now. I'm going to protect you.
Right.
We're so loud. There's so much noise going on that
Yes.
we clear off anything
Yeah.
that else is going to be coming toward us. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely, 100%.
Attention. That tip about hotels, that's really smart tip. I think I had not thought of that, but yes, they're a lot. Usually, like used to dealing with international travelers and usually speak English, and they're always open. That is so smart. Okay, cool. So what about, do you try to like meet people when you're solo traveling? Do you try to like connect, or do you pretty much just stay to yourself? How do you handle that?
It largely depends on what mood I'm in. I can be I can be an extrovert and I can be an introvert, and it just depends on, what I am that day. But I love meeting people abroad. I'm not the most I have to be in that perfect mood to be outgoing, I'm not the most outgoing, but I will welcome a conversation. I love somebody coming up to me. So all across Europe, I was actually just looking through photos the other day. There's a picture of me and this girl under the Eiffel Tower that she was just there. She was just sitting there on a picnic blanket, and she saw me trying to get a picture, like a selfie with the Eiffel Tower, and so she came up and talked to me, and she spoke English. I can't remember where she was from, but not the United States. And she helped me out, and then we just chatted for a while. She took a picture of us. I still have the photo, and we went our separate ways. I've met people on planes and on buses and in stores, and it's, like, have we stayed connected? No. If I was better at that, then potentially there's your new pen pal. But I love hearing people's stories. I love meeting people. A great way to do that is to go to a local pub and sit at the bar by yourself. Obviously you have to be smart about that. Or like coffee, sit by yourself at a coffee shop and just be open to it. Don't be afraid to enter into a conversation. You have to, respect the culture. I learned the hard way that you are not supposed to wave at people's babies in Europe, but they don't like that. It is not friendly. It's creepy. Oops.
Okay. Did not know that. Good to know.
Yeah. I was like, because I have a lot of experience in childcare. I'm a nanny. So I was on the bus and just like, playing with the kid, and the mom was very, very creeped out. She was like, no, like hit her child. I was like, oh. And my friend at the time, well, she's still my friend, who is British, was like, yeah, don't do that ever again. you don't do that here. I'm like, okay.
Interesting.
So yeah, obviously respect the culture as far as interjecting. But there are a lot of ways to just be around people and just be open to. It's usually, another solo traveler. But it's very doable. People are more friendly than you think. I've learned that too.
I agree with that. Yeah. So we're all women here. Like, what do you guys see as maybe a fear or a hesitation for women, especially in solo travel? That this can be for anybody.
The first one I hear a lot about, you would think it would be safety, but actually the first thing that a lot of people say to me is the language barrier. If they're worried about going to a foreign country, and maybe it's somewhere they've always wanted to go, they've been like pining for it since they were in elementary school, and they really, really want to go. And as we get older, that intensity grows because you start to feel like you're running out of time and maybe it won't happen. But the thing that holds us back as we reach middle age, especially, is often the fear of not being able to communicate effectively and feeling like if there was a difficult situation, I wouldn't be able to communicate what was going on and I wouldn't be able to get the help I needed, And so it accelerates, I think, some of the fears that we have about travel. So that's why I'm learning some basic travel language for the country you're really wanting to visit can go a long ways, or even saving some phrases on your phone to help you in a difficult situation is helpful. But there's so many ways you could overcome that. There's also lots of groups that travel together with leaders that are native to the country, so that you always have a person who is looking out for you, who can interpret and interject if needed, and who are guiding you in your own language so that you can fully appreciate and enjoy the situation. So I think I understand why people feel limited by that, but it also, I feel like there's, especially in our modern age, we have so many resources to help you overcome that fear or that concern, so that it shouldn't be a barrier to you traveling.
I
I
feel like
agree.
safety is my reason for no other fact, and Kara said it earlier, like through no fault but my own 100%. I will get very like zeroed in on something like, ooh, look how cute that shop looks. And my husband will be like, let's take a step back and look at the whole, like there's guys hanging around, like doing nothing. It's a dark alley with no lights. We probably shouldn't walk down that way. So I'm very prone, I guess, to just blatant disregard of safety things that normal people would, think is rational. Because I get, just easily distracted, I suppose. But I could definitely agree with the language barrier too. Being from the South and having a strong Southern accent, Google Translate helps me little to none. So it would have to be something. I like that you said that recorded on your phone, because maybe, through trial and error 15 times, maybe I could get it to understand what I was trying to say. But with even trying to learn how to speak another language, a lot of times you tack your accent onto that language even without trying. So I learned that from my son's actually trying to learn Russian, and it's hilarious. But it is very difficult to both language and safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably the two biggest concerns for women. So, thinking about that, what advice would you give for a first time solo traveler? Like, what's one tip that you would give for a solo traveler?
I'd say the best way to prepare for any of those, and to just any way that you can ease your mind, which is planning ahead. Like, just, especially if you're working with a travel agent that is studied abroad, that is solo traveled. I made a lot of mistakes. So now I know the things that you need to look out for that I didn't look out for. And there's so many ways to alleviate that stress, such as like I never have like access to my phone data when I'm abroad. But when I traveled with my friend to Europe last year, she bought one of those little SIM cards that worked abroad. It was like $40. I did not know they were so cheap. Should have been doing that the whole time. So like that's a great way to have a safety net in your pocket, where if you need directions on the fly, you have it. Whereas I still had something, but I would have to go find Wi-Fi first. It's just a longer process, and that could stress you out. Because another big safety concern, at least for me, was learning the public transit in any given place quickly, which I've fortunately gotten pretty good at. But even now, I mean, just last year when we were in Copenhagen, I think it was, I can't remember. I couldn't figure out for the life of me. We had to ask somebody, and I was so confident. I was like, I don't know what buttons to press. So like, even just planning ahead, knowing your route, print out all of your reservations so that you're not having to look it up on your phone. It could be dead. You could be out of reach. Your SIM card could not work, unfortunately. Although I'd recommend checking it out before you leave, trying it before you're out of Wi-Fi service. Just having printed reservations, having directions of how to get from A to B. It's those little jumps that you don't think about, from like airport to accommodation, or tour to bus stop, walking that you need to plan ahead for, because then it's not something you're worrying about. You're not anticipating something going wrong, because you know that you already have. I brought a list of, we went to many countries when we went last year, and I brought a list of embassies in every country. Did I need it? No. Was I ever going to need it? Definitely not. But I had it on my person all the time, just in case. And that little thing made me feel, and there were two of us too, so super didn't need it, but made me feel more confident. And then that enables you to enjoy your trip more, because all those things aren't piling up in your brain.
Yeah, being confident does help you enjoy your trip better. I think also, like, if you've never solo traveled before, I would say maybe like start small, like start with a little solo trip, like locally for a few days, and test it out first before you like fly to Europe for a 2-week backpacking solo trip. Because
absolutely,
it's a good tip. I'm just going to tell a quick story. I went once, I was flying through Spain Spain. It was in the middle of a trip. I was leaving from Paris. I was going to the US, but I had this one layover in Spain, and it was a long layover. And I thought, ooh, I can go and see Madrid. And oh my gosh, it'll be so exciting. I spent a week pulling up all these cool things I could go do. And I figured out how I could get there. I did all the planning and everything. And then when I arrived in Spain, the first thing that happened was the lady in front of me in line to check into the hotel was robbed while we were in line at this very nice hotel. You would not think this was going to happen at. And I'm like thinking, this is a nice neighborhood. Look how nice everything is. Look how safe it is. But we had been targeted when we left the airport, and this person was just waiting for an opportunity. And the minute she like went to fiddle with her luggage, he snatched her bag and ran out the door.
Wow.
And we're all standing there in line like, I can't believe that just happened right in front of us. Yeah. And so then I ordered in and stayed in my room and didn't go anywhere. And I was so mad at myself 2 days later when I realized like that was my one chance. Like, I don't know when I'll be in Madrid again, you know? And it just eroded my confidence in solo travel because I realized how easy it is to talk yourself out of something. Now, that was kind of an extreme situation, but the reality was I was really kind of looking for an excuse to not go out. And I didn't realize it until I had my excuse right in front of me. I was like, well, there you go. This place is dangerous. I'm not going anywhere. And everyone in the hotel was like, no, this never happens. I swear this is like not normal. But yeah, I was like, well, I'm not going to see. So I never did see Madrid. I've never seen anything. And I realized though how easy it is for us to be intimidated. I think the idea of like taking a little trip, go to like a city that's nearby that maybe you haven't spent a lot of time in and see how it goes. Will you leave your hotel room? Will you eat by yourself, or will you eat in the car? Will you do fast food? Or are you going to go sit in a restaurant and enjoy beautiful space and be brave to sit there alone? Are you going to buy the tickets and go do the activity or go to the show or whatever? Are you confident to sit through it and enjoy it and actually soak it up and enjoy it? You know, if you can't handle a weekend doing that, then are you going to be able to go to a foreign country and do that? You know, so I think it's a good test and good practice too, because then maybe you can talk yourself into being braver instead of talking yourself out of something like I did.
Yeah.
I think as women too, like so much of our identity is often connected to other people around us. That like it's a challenging practice for us to go somewhere solo and like enjoy and like be in the moment and live in like who we are as individual human beings. So I can really see like the value in kind of taking time for solo travel and like challenging yourself a little bit, pushing. I think you could learn a lot about yourself and probably build your confidence too. Because like you were talking about, Kara, like you come across a difficult situation and then you deal with it. And then the next time something comes up, you're like, I've dealt with this before. I know that I can, get through it. And so it does kind of build your confidence too.
Yeah.
So we are almost out of time, y'all. So do anybody have anything else they want to share before we wrap up about solo travel?
I would say I'm not the target audience for solo travel, but if you would be like me and in the future you would find yourself, travel is so important to you, you would do anything to get there. There's plenty of groups on Facebook. One that I'm a part of, it's Girls Love Travel, and those girls meet up all the time and do different things. And even us as the travel bug girls, in the future we plan on taking trips together, and that would be the perfect opportunity to test run some alone time and some together time. And then that way, you kind of feel safe in a group if you want to do an outing. And then if you want to chill in your room by yourself, that's cool too. So that I really, really enjoy that group. And I think Travel Bugs is going to evolve into that in the future, in which, we will be advertising trips that we are going on, and we would love to meet up with some people that would also like to go on that trip or, travel to the destinations we're interested in traveling in. I think that would be fantastic.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Check out our group trips on our website because we're adding new ones all the time, and it's a great way to come. And some of them are more structured than others. So pick the one that fits you best. Or if you have questions, you can message us and we'll be happy to help you find the right trip. But we would love for you to come travel with us. And then you have some of that blend of, you can kind of go do your own thing during the day, but have people to have dinner with at night, maybe, So I know the trip that Tina was planning to Cancun, it was that kind of scenario where you're at a resort, so you can go and do your own thing all day, all night. And then when you want to hang out with somebody in the group, you can come and hang out, So you could really pay the group price and enjoy the whole time by yourself if you wanted to. But it's nice to have the option when you have that moment of like, oh, I want to go to the nightclub, but I don't really want to go alone. I want to go with a group of friends, right? Then you can come and join the group, or I want to have dinner at the beach, but it looks like it's a bunch of couples down there. I'd like to go sit with somebody and not be awkward, Then those are the kinds of opportunities when traveling a group is such a gift.
Yeah, I also think like Kara touched on this, having a travel agent, even if you're doing solo travel, to help you plan and also to kind of educate you on some of the different aspects of like the country you're going to, like how to get around the embassy, what to do in an emergency, just all those things. But just like having a backup person also that knows your itinerary, that knows where you're going to be. I think for solo travel, or maybe even especially for solo travel, can be really helpful, and maybe also avoiding some hard lessons.
Yeah, learn from our own mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. That was a great episode, and be sure to follow us for the next episode coming out soon.